Hello friends, it's Laura from Cool Mom and Collected, and I cannot believe that I'm making this video. I'm not pregnant anymore. I had baby girl about 6 days ago, and I have been dying to tell you guys all about it. So first off, I just want to show you because it just doesn't feel real. Baby girl is no longer here. She was evicted, and she's right there. I cannot wait to tell you how she got here. I basically planned for every type of birth, emotionally and mentally, except for a home birth. I just did not think ever that a home birth was in the cards for me. In fact, if there was one birth that I really never thought I would ever want, it was a home birth. I liked knowing that I'm at a hospital if I need, there's a neonatal unit if I need, and I just was not expecting to give birth in my RV. But we're gonna talk about that right now. So get ready. I was exactly 41 weeks. I actually had a stress test for later that day, and I had all of this anxiety. What if I find out the baby's in stress and then I need to be induced? Because basically when you get a stress test, you have to bring a labor and delivery bag with you in case they send you straight to get the baby out if the baby's in stress. So I had been praying about that. I was so concerned about that. What if something is wrong? I go to bed that night. It was probably midnight, but that was late for how I was going to bed prior. So I went to bed and I remember waking up at 2:40 in the morning and I had my first back labor. The second I start back labor, I know it's go time. Like, no messing around. I'm gonna have a baby. This is it. Waking up in the middle of the night to back labor was like, whoa. I remember I got right up and I started moving around to see if I would get another. So according to my contraction timer, at 2:48 a.m., I had a 40-second long contraction, and 6 minutes and 12 seconds later, I had another. The second I got that second contraction, I just knew this is it. I called my mom immediately after, it was like probably close to 3 a.m. I said, hey mom, I'm getting back labor, and I know you know that that means this is it. And I was like, I know you're coming today for the stress test anyway. Do you mind leaving right now? My mom was like, Laura, I'm already up. I was like, what? She goes, yeah, sometimes I just wake up in the middle of the night, and I literally woke up 5 minutes before you called, which is crazy, guys, because that's probably when I was having my contraction. I knew she was going to be in the car on her way. After that, I decided to call my midwife. My husband's still sleeping. I call my midwife and I find out it's actually a midwife I've never had before, but in my practice of like nurse midwives. So I'm like, hi, nice to meet you. I'm so sorry, but I'm pretty sure I'm going into labor and I feel bad calling you so early on, but my labors have been really fast in the past, like 4 hours and 6 hours were my two most recent, and I just think this is it. So my midwife's like, okay, no problem. Very sweet, this new one. She's like, no problem. Why don't you let me know when your contractions are 5 minutes apart, lasting 1 minute for 1 hour in consistency. I'm like, okay. So I'm like, hang up with her. I go to my husband because during this time, I'm actually still getting contractions. So just to give you an idea, it was 6 minutes and 12 seconds apart, then 4 minutes and 36 seconds apart, 4 minutes and 45 seconds apart, 6 minutes and 15 seconds apart, 5 minutes. So as you can see, even in like a half an hour span, I'm going from 6 minutes to 4 minutes to 5 minutes. I wake up my husband and I go, hey babe, I think I'm in labor. And he's like, what, really? And I'm like, yeah, because I'm getting back labor, so I'm pretty sure this is it. He was like, okay. And I was like, you could sleep right now. I'm just gonna like hop in the shower, do a diffuser, like get a few things going. I'm like, you can sleep for now. He's like, okay. So he goes back to sleep. I turn on my shower. I light a diffuser. I start chugging the water, guys. If you watched my last video, you remember I was talking about chugging so much water. That's what I did. I chugged. I set my diffuser. I had my contraction timer. And I started playing Jonathan Ogden's album. It's called Autumn, and it was just absolutely beautiful. Hop into the shower, and I'm just like swaying. I had my hands on my back, and you know, with an RV shower, you're gonna lose water in like 10 minutes. You're gonna lose hot water. I was really just taking a shower to see if it would help me relax, but I knew after that first contraction in the shower, this is kind of getting intense. We're gonna have to get out of the shower, and I just feel like I need to get my husband awake. I'm not gonna do this thing where I'm in the car again on the way to the hospital having the baby. Well, you know what happened. So I shake my husband and I'm like, hey babe, you're gonna want to get up now. And he's like, really? And I'm like, yeah, I think we actually need to get the kids in the car. Like it's like, it's getting intense and they're getting really close together. He's like, okay. So he gets up, starts pitter pattering, getting me water, getting everything packed. You know, we were packed, but there were things that we still needed to put into our go bag. And I'm all of a sudden feeling like I need him. Like I need him to massage me. When my own massage isn't working, that's when I started kind of freaking out, because I'm like, I'm going to need him with me like every second to do that counter pressure on my lower back. So I was like, okay, babe, I need you to get the kids in the car now. I just figured, you know what? My mom's not going to get here in time. Let's at least meet her at the hospital. I called my mom and I'm like, Mom, can you actually just meet us at the hospital? I said, I don't think that I'm going to like last too long here. And she was still like an hour and a half away. Which is terrifying. So my mom was like, yeah, sure, I'll just go straight to the hospital. Meanwhile, she was freaking out because she hates doing the GPS while she's driving. And I'm so sorry, Mom. But yeah, she put in the hospital instead. And my husband was just about to get the kids out of bed. Now, if I look at my contraction timer, remember I told you it was 6 minutes, 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 5 minutes, 3:30, which is now not even an hour after my first contraction, and all of a sudden 2 minutes and 49 seconds in between each contraction, 2 minutes and 42 seconds, 3 minutes and 40 seconds, 2 minutes and 49 seconds, 2 minutes and 46 seconds, 2 minutes and 16 seconds, 2 minutes and 10 seconds, 1 minute and 38 seconds. Guys, there was no break. I start picturing my husband trying to put the kids in the car and me basically needing someone to massage me and nobody's there. And I just knew that it was going to be a disaster. So poor guy. I then go, okay, babe, scratch that plan. I really didn't want a neighbor to have to come over to watch the kids because, you know, I just wanted to know they were with my mom. But I was like, forget it. Keep the kids in bed. We need to get a neighbor. And I'm like short of breath even telling you guys this because that's the only way. That's how I felt. Very short of breath. I was just like, babe, just get someone, get the neighbor, get my friend over here. She said that she would come over if we needed her. I call my friend. She doesn't answer. I call her again. She doesn't answer. Mind you, she did tell me if you need me, like if your mom can't make it, I'll come over. So it wasn't a complete surprise, but it was because it's 3:50 in the morning. So my husband runs over there as fast as he can, tries to knock twice. She doesn't answer. Forget her. Let's go to this neighbor over here. I'm like, this neighbor said that she would come over and she would sit here. And this sweet neighbor, guys, I mean, she must be in her upper 70s. Very, very sweet neighbor. But, you know, obviously it takes her a little bit of time to get out the door. And I was desperate. And I was just like, good, she's awesome. Get her. So he goes over to our neighbors and he knocks on the door. And like I said, no answer. So I see him walking back and I look at him and I go, babe, she said, knock on the window. She said, go crazy, go over there. She said that if something happened, we could just go crazy. Just bang on her door. So he's banging on her door. I'm over here. I'll show you guys like a little video. I'm over here in this area of the bathroom bedroom situation. I hear him knocking on his door and guys, all of a sudden I feel my body want to push. I literally feel the sensation of your body pushing and I feel myself opening up. I start freaking out and at this point I'm moaning. At this point I'm doing all my low breathing. I'm like freaking out. I know that if I yell, I'm gonna push this baby out. So I'm like, babe, come. I open the door to the outside and I'm like, babe, come. come, babe, the baby's coming, just come, I need you. I'm like, forget her, babe, just leave her. The poor sweet neighbor of ours, the older lady, I was just like, just leave her, just come, forget her. So he runs over, we shut the door, and I'm like, babe, I'm not gonna make it to the hospital. I'm like, you gotta call mom and just tell her to come here. My poor mom. So we end up calling my mom and telling my mom to come to the house. Oh my word. She's freaking out, or she's keeping it together, but poor mommy. I'm so sorry again. I was thinking about all my neighbors. I'm like, they're gonna think there's a bear in this RV park, and bears are just not normal around here. So I was like, I'm gonna scare some child in an RV. I know these walls are too thin. Then I'm like, we gotta call my midwife. And guys, the funniest thing, every time you call my midwife practice, it goes to a beeper of whatever midwife is on call. Please say your name after the beep. Beep. It's just how it progressed throughout my labor was hilarious. It was like the first time, beep, Laura. Second time, beep, Laura. Third time, beep, Laura. Like, I was like, help me. She picks up the phone and I'm like, listen, I'm not going to be able to do it. I said, I'm so sorry. I'm not going to, if I get in the car, I'm going to have the baby in the car. I feel like I'm going to have the baby right now. I thought she was going to be like, no, try your best, get in the car. She was like, okay, well, have your husband get some towels. She was very calm. And my husband's grabbing the towels. I already feel myself opening up and I'm already starting to push. I was bent on the floor, kneeling over my bed. So it was nice because I had that support. I was kneeling over my bed and I was on my knees and I had my hands leaning over my bed. So I'm just like, ooh, and I feel myself open. I'm like, okay, this isn't forced. Like, my body is telling me I'm ready. I do it again, second push, ooh, and I touch myself and I feel the hair of my baby, and I go, yeah, I feel her hair. My midwife's like, okay, great, just try and push down. I'm already like, whoa. Okay, the third time, her head pops out. It just popped out. Her head popped out. And immediate relief. You guys know what that's like. As I'm pushing the baby out, my neighbor finally gets to the door. My older, sweet lady neighbor finally gets to the door, and she's banging on the door by my children where they sleep. And my husband's like, we're good. So sorry. We're good. She's delivering the baby now. You can go. Like, it was just guys, it was crazy. I was like, tell her she can go. We don't need her. We're okay. I was just like, it was such a crazy moment. And you heard my neighbor when he said that, she was like, what? It was so funny, guys, how my kids did not wake up throughout this entire experience. I have no clue. I'm like, okay, her head's out. I'm like talking in between. And then all of a sudden, she's like, okay, you got to do it one more time. I hear my husband. I feel like he's almost like got his hands in me trying to pull the baby out. I was like, are you like reaching in me? He's like, no. I'm like, just felt so much pressure. And I just pushed again. Guys, there was like no fear. Like, I went into like, I can't even explain it. I went into this mode where there was just no option. There was no time for fear. It was like, get this baby out. My body just knew what to do. And I pushed and her entire body came out. So the first time I felt myself open. The second push, I felt her hair. The third push, her head was completely out. And the fourth push, her whole body came out. And guess who caught her? Dr. Daddy, which is now what my husband insists I call him, because he totally caught her coming out of me. And this is just where everything fades away, guys. And the craziness of processing what just happened in my RV bathroom takes place. I literally could not believe it. I turned over. The pain was gone. I saw the umbilical cord was completely, thank God, beautifully laid out, connected to the baby. She started crying right away. Her color looked great. There was no concern other than she was out. That was it. My husband gave her to me and I just held her to my chest. I could not believe what happened. I was just like, I did it. She's out. Okay, she's fine. She's out. I hear my midwife, great job. Good job. And I hold her up to my chest, and like probably 30 seconds or a minute passes when I finally realize what happened. And she starts to nurse, and she's happy and nursing and still attached. Once the baby was out, the midwife was like, okay, now you need to call 911 and ask for the EMTs to come because that's how you're going to get to the hospital. So I was just following protocol. I'm like, okay, my husband calls 911 and I'm like, this RV park's about to light up because there's going to be like ambulances and police and the lights and sorry neighbors, it's probably going to be really bad. I get up off the bathroom floor and my husband walks me over to the couch, the RV couch, the most uncomfortable couch that an RV could possibly have. He sets me up with blankets and all this stuff so I can just basically lay down naked on this couch and just hold this baby, and mind you, the placenta's still in me. I'm still attached to my baby. I have pictures that I can show you. Maybe I will, but they are not attractive. They are pictures of a woman who was scared out of her wits. I'm not like smiling, all excited. I'm literally like every picture I took, you'll see if I share it. My face isn't like home birth. It's like, ah! So I think it's actually pretty funny because it just shows the reality of how crazy this was. I'm sitting and hydrating on the couch with the baby. I hear that the EMTs are there. So they open up the door and I still see my neighbor sitting outside. I felt so bad. I'm like, honey, go tell her that she can go, that the EMTs are here. My mom actually came before man, it's so easy to forget. My husband calls my mom and he's like, hey, listen, forget about the hospital. You can actually just come to the house. Laura had the baby. She was like, okay, fine, I'll come. What? She was like, what? Wait, Laura had the baby? He's like, yeah, she had the baby in the RV and she's fine. I mean, just imagine, guys. So my poor mom was coming to the house, going to the hospital, coming back to the house. She got there before the EMTs came. She was like, Laura, what happened? Oh, the baby's here, and I'm just sitting there with the baby, still like, just kind of like, what just happened? The EMTs eventually come in. It was 2 men, my worst nightmare, and 2 girls. And I was just like, whatever, this is life. They basically told me that in order to transport to the hospital, this is where they lost me, guys. Super nice EMTs, but this is where they lost me. They told me that I would have to ride in a separate ambulance from my child. Let that just sink in for a sec. Baby just had her, nursing on my chest, umbilical cord still attached, placenta still in me, telling me I gotta be in 2 separate ambulances. No. That I would be in this one, she would be in this one, and we would go to the hospital. Not happening. At first, I was like, what? So like my husband would go with her and I would be by myself. And then they're like, yeah, and you'd have to get her dressed and put her in her car seat. And I'm like, what? I remember when I had my last son, my midwife, when I thought I wasn't going to make it to the hospital, she was like, trust me, you don't want EMTs touching your baby. No offense if you guys are EMTs, but I'm just saying, she said, there's a lot of germs in there. You're going to have people handling them that aren't necessarily, that you don't necessarily know their experience, blah, blah, blah. So that's all that I could hear in my head. And my husband agreed. He was just like, why don't we just like self-transport ourselves? And this is not medical advice, but the correct thing to do is to go in the ambulance. But I'm sorry, guys, I couldn't. I thought that would have been crazy to be separated from my daughter. I literally thought it's going to end in her getting there before me, where I'm like in the car and she's there. And what are they doing with her? Or I get there and then where's my baby? And I was just like, anyone need some post-traumatic stress? Anybody? So I was like, no, we're not going to do this. I looked at my husband, and my husband's so smart. He was like, well, let me ask you, if we get care for my wife and my daughter right now, can we always deny further care? So like, can we get their vitals checked and decide? And if we don't want to, then we can just transport ourselves. And they were like, they knew what we meant. They were like, yeah, you can do that. We understand. Yeah. So I got my vitals checked. EMTs actually asked my husband if he wanted to cut the cord. And of course he said yes, he's done that with all our other kids. So after they checked my vitals, they tied up the umbilical cord and my husband cut it, which was really special. They were like, your blood pressure is amazing. Your color is awesome. You said the baby cried right away. She looks awesome. She's nursing. She doesn't look like she has any issues. We just have to let you know that if you do go in your own car to transport and this placenta comes out, you could hemorrhage and die. They were like, we're really not trying to scare you, but we have to tell you that, and that is the truth of what can happen. I was a little taken aback by that information, just picturing me bleeding and hemorrhaging in the car. But then I looked at my husband and he was like, Laura, honestly, if you're going to hemorrhage in an ambulance, there's really nothing they can do for you there either. So it's really just, you know, the only thing the ambulance can probably do more of is turn their lights on and maybe go a little faster. We thanked them. They even gave me, like, between you and me and all of the internet, they basically told me you actually look really, really good. And we're not concerned with you self-transporting based on how you look to us right now. I'll just go straight there. So we had their blessing. My husband was cleaning up the mess in the bathroom while the EMTs were checking my vitals. And my mom was all ready to stay with my children so that we could drive. Thanks, Mom. The weird thing, guys, was that the placenta was still in me and they are not allowed to deliver it. I had to get it done at the hospital. So that was just weird because I'm like, I usually deliver the baby and push the placenta on my own right out. I don't want to do that here and then hemorrhage or who knows what. I just didn't want to do that. We got into the car. I sat in the back with baby, still nursing, and my husband, thank God, there was like really not a car on the road. And the one car that was in front of us and moving slow, my husband rolled down the window and they're like, yeah, go ahead, go ahead. We got there in 20 minutes. Kind of crazy. It sounds like a lot further now, but the bumps were terrible. Like every bump just made me more aware that the placenta was in me. With every bump, I'm like, like, I hope this is okay with the placenta. Weird, I know. And everyone was asking me like, so was the cord like hanging out of you? I didn't notice. My mom helped me get underwear and pants on my way out, so I didn't notice or feel any cord. When we finally got to the hospital, nobody was out there. My husband's like, okay, where is everybody? So he actually ran in, got the wheelchair, brought it out, sat me on it with the baby, rolled me in, and I was kind of just like, hey, you know, like, where is everyone? Then the nurses come out when they realize I was there, and they're like, so sorry, we thought there was going to be an ambulance. And my midwife was there too. No worries. We ended up going straight to the area. Not gonna lie, I kind of felt like a queen. They're like, this is the girl that gave birth in her RV, you know? And they're all like, wow, wow, wow. And I'm like, yeah, in like 1 hour. It was just pretty crazy. We finally get up to the room and really, guys, the rest went quite like the normal of what you would do. It was basically like I straight up had my baby at home, and then I went and we literally picked things up right where they left off. They laid me out on the bed. I felt comfortable giving them the baby right away because I had had her at that point for like 2 or 3 hours on my chest while we were figuring everything out to get to the hospital. Probably more like 2 hours. And so they were taking care of the baby, making sure she was great. She still had the vernix on her. She looked awesome. They had no issues with that. And then I pushed out my placenta. And guys, what came with the placenta was like a block of blood. Like, what do you call it? Not a hemorrhage, blood clot, like this big. Like, look at your cell phone and it's like that's how big it was. Like a little cake. Not appetizing. It came out and they were like, yeah, this is because you know, the placenta was sitting in you for so long, which it really was probably like over an hour, like an hour and a half, 2 hours. And so I was so happy that the clot came out. They were pushing down. They're like, you're firm. You look great. Like very minimal bleeding, no tearing or anything like that. And so it was just like, incredible. Because baby came out so fast, and I think because my labor was so quick, I actually did not have any downstairs pain, and I still don't. That's one of the huge things I couldn't wrap my hand around. I was peeing, I was walking, I was doing everything that I needed to do, and I could sit. No soreness. Even right now, 6 days later, guys, I've had no soreness up until this point. And I say that not to be like, ooh, but to be like encouraging to you that that is one of the perks. Baby and I are doing great. We were doing great, thank God, in the hospital. There were no issues on either side. They weren't concerned about the GBS. They monitored us for 48 hours just to make sure that nothing would come up. And obviously, I know the signs to look for to make sure infection and things like that, Father willing, would not come up. But yeah, wow, that's my story. I mean, I'm literally sitting where I gave birth, like on the side of my bed right here. It's so crazy. No matter what kind of birth you have, any birth is beautiful, but I can only speak on behalf of unmedicated and say it's not about feeling holier than thou. It's not about any of that. For me, it's about that full dependency on the Father, that full dependency on knowing that He will take care of you, that no matter how your birth story ends up, whether you have a baby in an RV and you weren't expecting it, all I know is that baby came, baby was safe, and the Father, like, when I tell you guys how in control the Father was of every detail, this wasn't something, that I was like secretly hoping would happen. This was my last thought that would ever happen. And He was just so present in every detail, guys. Like, thank God the cord wasn't wrapped around her neck. Thank God she was breathing. Thank God my water broke. My water broke as I was pushing. And you guys remember that I was GBS positive. Well, the fact that my water literally broke as she came out meant that the baby really wasn't at risk. The significance of fear of baby getting an infection with GBS when water breaks as you're pushing out drops significantly. That was an answer to prayer. In my past pregnancies, I've actually had to have them pop my water because it was blocking baby from coming out. She couldn't come out. Like, look at the details of what the Father did. The cord was long enough that I was able to turn around and hold the baby to my chest. With one of my last babies, the cord was so short that I literally couldn't hold her or him until they cut it. So in this situation, like, thank God, like, the detail of the cord, I could pull her right up to my chest. It was amazing. Normally, if you have a home birth, you have a medical professional there with you at home, and someone who can cut the cord and someone that can, like, make sure she's breathing okay. And, like, it was just me and my husband and my kids. It was just us. It was so crazy. And I remember one of the first songs that I played on Jonathan Ogden when I went into labor was out of Psalm 27. Adonai is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? Adonai is the stronghold of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? And I know that the context might be different of what this passage is talking about, not talking about childbirth, but honestly, thank Adonai for being the light of my salvation, for taking care of me throughout this. I didn't have time to be afraid. Like, of course I was nervous. Of course I was scared to give birth, but He supplied me everything to get that baby out. He comforted me. He was with me. I mean, I had no control, guys. It was all Him. And so if you marvel at the story or if you think it's amazing, it wasn't me, it was Him. He took me to probably my greatest fear, and He delivered me. And it was just so beautiful. And He delivered my baby. Here she is, my little baby. I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for all your prayers and support during this pregnancy. It has been so nice knowing that I have other people that were praying for me. There's a lot of moms out there that probably have the what if symptom, like, what if this happens to me? And I hope that my story can bring you peace. I hope that you guys rely on the Father to get you through birth and that you find beauty in the pain, because let me tell you, there is so much more beauty at the end than the pain in the moment. We think our plans are best, but His plans are always better. So I love you guys. Oh my gosh, look at all this hair. I hope that you guys enjoyed my birth story. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.